it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. And here in the beginning of trying to do this, it's okay for you to have hard days. My advice to you is keep trying to reflect Jesus as best as you can, because you're probably past that, oh, this is going to be so easy moment. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 8. This is week 3. We're talking about how we're doing sinless. And I just want to pause for a couple things here. Again, Justin and I keep getting these great conversations in between sessions. Oh, by the way, this is Justin, the fabulous producer of this podcast being done in the world famous Trout Lake Camps podcast studios. I'm James. I know we've never said subscribe and all that kind of crazy stuff. What am I supposed to say, Justin?
I've heard that it could have been changed since I've paid attention, but people say like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
But, I mean,
yeah, we're on episode 8, and that's the first time I've said to do that. You can just tell how much I really am just driven by that part.
Real social media.
But so like and like and subscribe if you want.
Yeah, you can describe it to friends too if you
there
like. I mean, that's probably more effective.
So typically in week 3, in I'm gonna use myself as an example. So this last week, man, I run Trout Lake Camps. I'm the executive director here. So in the summertime, we can have about 500 campers here on a week of summer camp at 3 different camps for 3 different age groups. We'll talk about that later. In the fall, winter, springtime, we can have rental groups here or in-house retreats that can have 400 plus kids here on a weekend. But we do a huge conference called District Blitz at the Duluth Civic Center kind of a thing. So it's off-site, off-grounds, and we have over 3,000 kids at this huge event. And so this last week, I think I'm on my actual 4th week. I'm a week ahead of you guys. But on my 4th week, I got to be honest, I didn't carry this around very well. Basically, working about 10, 12-hour days, getting ready for and following through with this huge weekend event with over 100 youth groups at it. And it was so fun. We talked about Jonah, and man, Jonah, what a mess. And we talked about him. We had some great speaker friends of mine do stuff, a great band, all sorts of great things. But last week, it was difficult for me to keep marking this form. I think it's okay to stop and go, yeah, there's going to be days like that. The thing about that, whether it's a diet program or an exercise program or a grow spiritually program or pray every day program or read the Bible 365 days in a row program, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and in this case, what we're trying to do is sin less today than we did yesterday, ideally to eventually go a day without sinning in trying to reflect Jesus as best as we could. Remember that question did any of the disciples ever go a day without sinning because they were so close to Jesus and they were trying so hard to follow what he was doing? Were they even capable of pulling that off? But in this 52-week journey, we're going to have weeks where work's hard. We're going to have weeks where somebody's sick, somebody passed away, something happened, wrecked the car, who knows what, that's going to take us kind of off path. And hopefully you grab these 2 rocks and put them in your pocket. So even when you don't have the piece of paper around, you can be fidgeting and thinking about, man, will I make that next step? Will I make that next decision the correct one? Or am I going to fall into old bad habits? And the only thing I just want to remind us at this moment in time is it's okay for things to be hard. It's okay to lose a little bit of ground, 2 steps back before you can go another step forward. I'm reminded a few years ago, we've got a maintenance guy, that Luke guy. We've talked about him before. And Luke went and bought some cows and put some cows in his backyard. His wife always wanted this kind of cow. It had these big horns on its head. And the family's all excited that they get these cows, and they're all excited they're in the backyard, and they're all excited they're running around. They're all named, and they're all these little itty-bitty things, and they're growing every day. And they wake up one morning and one of the cows is dead. It isn't alive anymore. And it started this really interesting conversation with us as a group, and we were talking about how removed we are in the modern world with a cow dying, with having livestock in the yard, with having our food sources around us, because we just go to the grocery store and grab whatever we want, and there's always fresh ground cow in stock, if that's your thing. Maybe fresh ground lettuce is your thing. I don't know. But those ups and downs and those hardships, in any time we're trying to do a plan, it's okay to look at yourself and go, okay, I've had a couple bad days here. I need to refocus. And I'll be honest with me. So we're talking about how to do this. I've had to change my mornings where I'm waking up about a half hour earlier than I used to. And I am not a morning guy. I am a night guy. I am wide awake at midnight, 1 o'clock. But I've started to wake up a half hour, 45 minutes, a couple days, an hour early, not touch my phone, got myself out with some sunlight, got my Bible, got a prayer journal, got just some time to sit there and just to think about, okay, if having less sin in my life today is my goal, I've really got to kind of prepare myself for that. Now, again, I just came off a whole weekend in which I was waking up way earlier than 7 and running to an arena that was about to have 3,300 kids running around with a big, huge youth weekend kind of a thing. And I didn't have that time, but the time that I took during the week really helped that in making me get through those days where I couldn't spend that extra time. What I'm trying to say is as we're trying to sin less, as we're trying to do that, it's okay to have ups and downs. When I'm dieting, like I said, I think I told you this, I lost a lot of weight a long time ago. I lost 80-some pounds. And I'm the type of guy that has to weigh in every day, basically, to keep myself motivated and know exactly where I'm at. I love that scoreboard. Maybe you're like that. Maybe you're a little bit looser with that. Maybe you don't have to have that specific scoreboard. You don't have to have that thing set up exactly that way, the way we're trying to set it up here. But allow yourself those ups and downs, those ebbs and flows in this 52-week journey so that you can have the stamina to get to the end. Nobody's asking anybody to be perfect. Nobody's asking anybody to walk around like Jesus every day. What we're asking is, can we walk around just a little bit more like him? Can we reflect him just a little teeny bit better as we work on this spiritual discipline to not choose the flesh, but to choose the light, to not choose the black rock, but to choose the white rock? And give yourself the ability to have ups and downs as you're striving for getting better, because that's just the way it's always going to be. We're going to put image. It's on screen. It's going to be Dunning-Kruger effect. And Dunning-Kruger effect's one of my favorite all-time diagrams, one of my favorite all-time charts. It talks about when we start to do something, we go, man, I'm so good at it right at the beginning. And, let's use basketball. When I was a little kid and I first got a basketball, and the first time I made a shot and went in and made 2 points, I'm like, oh, I am so good at basketball. And you get that super excitement. It's kind of a weird thing our brain does, is it gets us so excited on the front end, trying to get us to keep going. It's like when you write a book, the first few pages are supposed to be the best written pages so you can get people off those first couple pages into the body of the book, so that they'll keep reading, they'll keep going. That's what our brain does to us when we're trying something new. It goes, wow, we're so excited about this. And we kind of overestimate how good we are. Then I'll go to the end. So like a pro basketball player, if you went to a pro basketball player and said, are you good at basketball? They'd say, oh, man, I'm not great at it. And you go, well, you're a professional. You're a pro. You're paid $10 million a year to play basketball. And he goes, but yeah, my left hand dribble, and when I try to go, it's just not quite right. And I'm just not good at that. So you get to this point where you realize how complicated this process is, how much work this takes when you get into those upper echelons. And in the middle, there's imposter syndrome, there's valley despair, all these things we'll talk about later. But here in these first 3 weeks, we come into it and we go, I'm going to be so good at following this sinless idea. And then we get a couple weeks in it and we start to lose a little bit of our focus. And then if we're not careful, we quit playing the guitar. We quit playing the instrument. Do you ever try to learn an instrument, Justin?
I have and failed.
Failed, me too. I want to learn to play the guitar so bad. I got almost good enough I could stand on stage. And then I realized I need to be a bass player. And so now I've changed to bass, and I'm trying to figure out bass, and it's different. But it's one of those things where, again, it goes back to those cows. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. And here in the beginning of trying to do this, it's okay for you to have hard days. My advice to you is keep trying to reflect Jesus as best as you can, because you're probably past that, oh, this is going to be so easy moment. And you're probably starting to grind a little bit into that, I'm never going to understand this, I'm never going to get this, or this is too hard, or this is too much, or this isn't worth my time. But I'm telling you, if you can get more of those sins pushed out of your life, I think God's really going to have something for you on the other side. And that's talking about how we're doing sinless this week.